My name is Annie Mashon. I used to work as an intelligence officer for the British Security Service, otherwise known as MI5. That was way back in the 1990s. And after 6 years, I and my former partner and colleague, a man called David Shayler, resigned to go public about a whole series of crimes and incompetence that we had witnessed while we were on the inside. So it was a very intense number of years, not only working on the inside of MI5 and seeing what they were doing, but also then resigning, going public, going on the run, and facing very high-profile court cases and the experience of having to visit your man in prison, as well as try and deal with all the media and all the law around it and everything. So out of that, I have emerged finally as someone who feels passionately about issues around the intelligence agencies, what they do right, what they do wrong, around human rights, around privacy and surveillance, particularly on the internet, which has evolved over the last few years, and also on a number of other related topics, such as the Russiagate story, the saga that has evolved over the last few years, such as what's going on in the Middle East, trying to work out exactly what has led to the current mess there. And also talking about ethics, talking to companies about whistleblowing and how you can try and avoid it so it's a win-win situation rather than a lose-lose situation, talking about human rights, a whole different range of things. So my life really over the last 20 years since we blew the whistle has been very much a roller coaster of highs and lows and a wide spread of experience. And that's what I like to talk to people about, all these different experiences, and try and infuse and inject my passion for those subjects and spread them as widely as I can. I think at the moment the pendulum always swings between security and liberty, security and privacy. And I think what we've seen over the last 25 years is a massive swing purely on the side of security. And this certainly accelerated after the events of 9/11, which is, 17 years ago now. And there was a wonderful opportunity, particularly for America, to develop this amazing surveillance apparatus, partly because in the 90s, Silicon Valley was just getting started. So that gave them the wherewithal to do it. And partly because, of course, after 9/11, they lashed out. They were incredibly angry. So this was seen as a sort of golden opportunity for the USA and for its Western allies, most notably the Five Eyes surveillance states, which include the UK, Canada, New Zealand and Australia. As we live increasingly our lives online, I would say it's not just we are doing stuff online and we don't have the same rights of privacy there. It's becoming an extension of our own consciousness, our very existence. We do pretty much everything online now. And if we can't have the right to privacy online that we expect in our daily lives, then I find that very problematic. So going back to the 1990s, the analog era when I worked for MI5, sure, they had the same tools to use in a very targeted manner, and they had to get accountability from the government by getting warrants signed in order to invade our privacy. They had to make a case to say that we were a threat. Now, of course, they can just at the flick of a switch do that to all of us. And I think that's where the line has been breached in terms of our right to privacy. And I also find, I think, that this is one of the reasons why so many people who commit terrorist atrocities now are already on the radar of the spies, but because they are drowning in this tsunami of information, they haven't got the resources to do targeted, proper investigations using a full panoply of different investigative techniques. Ironically, this lack of privacy online, this global mass surveillance, is actually making us, we the citizens, walking around our streets, more vulnerable to terrorist attack. I think that the concept of whistleblowing has become much more current in the public discourse, particularly because of high-profile cases like Chelsea Manning and Edward Snowden coming out of the intelligence arena, which is incredibly secret. But this is also a subject that can affect any business. And particularly, I think they need to think about having a channel that people with ethical concerns can go down, which will be meaningfully investigated, not just brushed under the carpet. And if there are problems within the company, then the reforms can be made, lessons can be learned from mistakes, and they can improve the way they work. And to me, this just seems a win-win situation, because the company improves, its shareholders get more money, its customers are happy, and the whistleblower doesn't have to ruin their lives and their professional reputation by going public, so a scandal is avoided. Of course, if you get into a position where you don't have that sort of avenue, that ventilation, and you do get whistleblowers coming out, then there is a scandal and it will damage your profit margin, it will hurt your shareholders, and it will discourage customers from coming to you.